Okay, we're looking real good. We got the comprehensive online marketing audit, and this is part one. I'm Dion Riccardo, and let's get right into it. So, we're looking at the website first, and these are four really important and crucial things to look at when you're looking at your website. It really comes down to this. The first thing is design. Okay. And this is how most websites are built, is from just this perspective of design. But really, when it comes down to it, does your website pop? In other words, is it visually appealing? And also, is it easy for a person to navigate and find what they're looking for? So that is the design element. Now, the next one is conversion elements. Will the site actually convert? Okay, things like the most desired path is going to be important here. The way your buttons are set up, your offers, the copy. Whether you're using buttons to pop-ups, or the way that you're setting up your landing page funnel. All those things are important when it comes to the conversion aspect of the website. Now, the next one, number three, is optimization, meaning does it function for the user and Google? Things like site speed is one aspect. Your search tags, your metadata within it is a part of that optimization for the search engines. Your schema or your JSON-LD code, those are optimization elements for Google. So that is what optimization entails, and we'll be covering that. And then, of course, reporting. Does your website have a way to track key performance indicators? In other words, when I talk to school owners, and I talk to a lot of them per week, here's the deal. Most of them don't even understand or know if their website is getting traffic, meaning they don't know how many visitors are coming to the site. They don't know how long they're spending on the site. They don't know what pages they visit the site. They don't know even if the site is actually, converting into leads. So knowing and having an easy dashboard or an easy way to see all the key performance indicators is super crucial for the modern day school owner. Here's something I really like to talk to school owners about, because this is just a mind-blowing concept. So you can buy a home that's been made, or you can have a house that's been built. Okay? You can have a house built. So you can either buy a house that's been made and you adapt to the house, or you can have a house built where you're building every room, designing all the features and things of that nature. And that's kind of what's going on in our industry, is that a lot of school owners are getting sites made, but they're kind of templatized. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute, but they say that it's not a cookie cutter, but it truly really is, because the school owner, here's one thing I've learned in marketing over the 30 years of being in the martial arts and 25 in actually running schools, is that when you think about your website, there's nobody you can have build your website that's going to build anything more than just a skeleton, because you, the school owner, has to put the body on it. It's all about your school. So in other words, if you're going to have a website built, then you want to have all the elements thought out yourself. Don't leave it to some designer. Don't leave it to some webmaster to figure that all out. Okay, you're building your online, calling card from the ground up. Okay, and does it take kind of being an expert? Well, it's the difference between, driving just a regular old car, or having a custom muscle car that's built from the ground up. Okay, so try to take that analogy. It's like when you can build your own vehicle, you can customize it. When you build your own house, you're customizing every part of it, you're totally involved in it. But if you notice the website design process, it's not usually your vision as the school owner. It's them trying to fit your school into this template. Okay, just think on that. Okay, design. All right, does it pop? So when we come to this page, the colors right off the bat, there's nothing there. This blue is popping a little bit, but there's not a whole lot that stands out, but it's pretty good. I mean, as far as the design, we're using kind of a darker layout and trying to bold out, this, the copy, and have that stand out. Usually darker backgrounds are not as good because it's harder on the eyes, but it looks pretty good. One thing I did see in the design, some of the design elements is, for example, if somebody takes the time to read all this stuff and then actually comes down to here and they read about you, okay, they're actually seeing this. Okay, what I would do is I would have a couple, like a picture of you, a picture of you working with students, maybe even a montage group picture, so that there's many different profiles of you. One picture of you and your students, one picture of you and your teaching, maybe one picture of you and your staff, one picture of you maybe talking to another parent and you guys are smiling. This is, if, as far as design, is this picture the best use? Okay, this to me is very generic to the person that's actually looked for your website and came here, and they're trying to get a glimpse into the personality of the school. Like, this picture gives me a glimpse into the personality. It's friendly and it's fun but serious at the same time. These pictures are filler. Okay, some of these pictures, you can tell this is filler. It's not really adding points to the overall design features within the website. Okay, let's talk about conversion elements. Will the site convert? First thing on conversion, okay, you have your phone number prominently displayed up here in the upper right hand corner, which is super important because just studies show that people normally that are doing local searches will come to a website and they'll kind of float right here. This is the most important space, and this upper right corner is usually used for the phone number, and you guys have it, which is awesome. The problem is that I'm clicking on it, but it's not taking me to a call. So having a click to call phone number right up in here is super, super important, especially if somebody's on their mobile device. They come to this page, they want to get some quick information, bam, they click this and they're instantly calling you. You'll see, again, a lot more phone calls come in, this being click to call. The second aspect, and I won't go into all the pages, is so this person most likely found your homepage because they were doing a Google search or a Yahoo, or they were doing some kind of search, which means that they're a pretty hot person because they're actually doing a Google search, not bumping into an ad on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, but they're actually searching out martial art lessons in Spanish Fork. So if that's the case and they come to this page, the very first thing that we're telling them is, we are, which we've already told them right here that you're Maple Mountain Martial Arts, but we're telling them again, so this is kind of wasted right here. They were Spanish Fork, they probably already did the search from Spanish Fork, so that's kind of wasted. Really what we want to do right here is, tell them your tagline and then give them an offer. Okay, right now, the most prominent offer that you're displaying in the most important area of the website is request information. And then when they click the request information, they're floated down into this area right here, which when we come to the mobile ready section, we'll see how this actually looks on mobile. But the request for information is not magnetic. It's not attractive. It's basically saying, if you want more information, you can go ahead and give us a call. But if this person's doing a Google search and maybe doing some, little research on a martial art class that they want to sign their child up for, you haven't really given them a reason to go ahead and give you their email information at this point. So offering them, something, or giving them a special offer to actually give their name, email, all their information is going to get you more leads coming through the site for sure. A couple other quick elements on the homepage. I would probably be using some more bolding in just the copy and breaking up the copy just a little bit more. I think that will definitely help because it just seems like it's a big block of text. So just having some bolding within this on keywords, kind of giving them a second path of readership so that if someone's kind of scanning through, they would see bold, they would see dynamic martial arts spirit, strive for personal excellence in their life, build amazing leaders. Some of these things come... life skills development, discipline, maybe you even go as far to all caps, discipline, confidence, respect, just giving people an alternative path throughout the page. And then also keep in mind that, if somebody bypasses this first fold right here and they come into this area and you're trying to get them to pick kids or adult martial arts, we really want to make, instead of just requesting information, you could probably say see more, and then when they click on that, okay, now they're taken to this dynamic landing page. Okay, so now they come to a page like this, and this looks really, really good. It does have a little bit of wasted space because remember, the person actually committed to something. And that's a very important point. Let me just sit on this for a minute here, is that every click that a person makes when they come to your site, because listen, there's other people that are coming to your site guaranteed from Google that come to this page and then click immediately back to Google. Hopefully it's not a lot, but we would be able to tell from your analytics. But looking at this, when you come into this site, if you come down here, you've already started making a commitment of your time, okay? Now this person goes ahead and they click, and they made just another little micro commitment, okay? They read your headline. We're asking them to make another micro commitment right here. All right, so here is a major, major component. Now, I know a lot of school owners might be trying to go for the kill, and maybe this works really good in highly populated areas, highly, a little bit more affluent areas, but in these type of offers, okay, from what we've tested and seen, is that you have to have a tremendous amount of traffic from the right area, meaning that it has the right demographics and right financial demographics, as well as mass population, to push them into these kind of offers and get these to work consistently and also just perform high amounts of lead counts. Okay, so it is possible, but there's a lot of factors, and the problem with just throwing an offer that is a paid offer from a person just coming from Google. Remember, let's talk about commitments. This person went to Google. Okay, so if they're going to Google, does that mean that they're ready to buy tomorrow? It doesn't. Okay, a lot of people will do research on Google for a week or 2 weeks to really understand where they want to enroll their child. So if they're doing this, and this is the first time they're visiting the site, if they're interested in the kids' martial arts and they go ahead and come to here, they've only had like 2 micro commitments before we're saying, okay, whip out the credit card and give us $59. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this. I'm not saying don't collect $59 on your offer. I'm just saying maybe you don't want to go from, hey, nice to meet you, to give me 59 bucks as quickly as we're going. Okay, you'll get much more response. Once they have a personal interaction with you, it's so much easier for them to give you the credit card. Not to say again that there's not right circumstances to ask for a credit card right online, but because we don't know what stage the traffic is coming into your homepage they're at, to instantly go from, click to pull out your credit card is a very, very difficult jump if you're not having massive traffic in an affluent area come to a specific page. I can guarantee you that if we tweaked up this offer, and we'll talk more about it if we get on the phone, if you tweak up this offer so that we give this offer more so once we get them on the phone, you're going to get a much, much higher response rate than you're probably getting right now. So just by making some of these changes, you're instead of getting five leads per month that you're getting right now, you'll probably get a lot more, and they'll still wind up paying the 59 bucks for the 3 weeks anyway, but you're just getting them on the phone. Yeah, let me just roll through this so you see what I'm talking about. So now we got kind of the psychology of it, but if you click here, see, here's the thing. If we would have just gave him a quick offer, not really talked about the price, and then had him click, and then maybe brought up a window that actually squeezed their info right then and there, and then take them to this page where they can actually pay, that's something worth testing. But, from my experience, again, managing a bunch of schools' websites and marketing, the bottom line is the conditions have to be right. They have to be just right in order to make a funnel like this actually work. Okay. Again, them coming all the way from a Google search, not knowing if they're really, kind of warm, hot, or super hot in their mindset, and then coming to this page and seeing this and saying, okay, I'm convinced to scroll more. Okay, I'm convinced to read this. Okay, I'm convinced to click this. Okay, I'm convinced to read this. I'm making a commitment, and then I come to here and $59. I don't know all that much about your program. I haven't even seen a review up to this point. So just kind of think about like the step-by-step process, okay, of take even like within your own school, you're taking a white belt and then slowly lesson by lesson building them up, and they're engaging more and making more of a commitment. And it's kind of the same way here. And I just really think that school owners are shooting themselves in the foot and putting up a huge barrier by asking somebody to do this so quickly and not really knowing where their prospect is in the buying cycle. Yeah, one more thing too is that you have like 14 reviews, from around the web. So like from what I see, you have about 14 reviews total, between your Yelp page and your Facebook page and your Google local page. But I would just take those reviews and take like screenshots, or, there's several different ways you could do it, but I would just be peppering the site with those reviews that you already have online. Okay. Make sure you do that, because that will definitely increase conversion. Again, that social proof, really a local person wants to come to your site, and they want to feel like A, it's local, B, it's a real, person, a real business, real people from the community come there and take the micro commitment path with you throughout your website, and peppering those testimonials and those online reviews that you guys already have would be a huge piece of leverage for the site. All right, let's get into optimization. And thinking about optimization, that element, it's how does the website function actually for the user, how fast it moves, and then the ability for Google to understand it and read it from their perspective as well. So you're looking to optimize your website for both the user and Google. So let's talk about that. Okay, so the first thing, and you could see this in the report that I sent you initially, but I wanted to go over this with you real quick so that you understand some of this is the behind the hood, this is like under the hood stuff. So when you're again talking about optimization, you're talking about the motor of the vehicle, the guts of the vehicle. And a lot of times this is like overlooked and like not talked about because it's not, really appealing. It doesn't really sell. But think about this, like this is the guts of your website. So here's some information on that. First thing that of importance is the page load speed. In other words, how fast does your page, when it gets called upon, when that URL gets called upon, how fast does that website come up? How fast does the server serve up that website? Okay. Now, if you bought the website, or if you had the website, if the website was made and you bought it, I should say, then you probably don't have a lot of freedom in this area to fix that up. I mean, you could maybe contact the company and tell them, hey, get my load speed is very low. Can you guys raise it up? But ultimately, that's a server issue, and it's kind of the way that the site was built. So if this site is not on your server, then you're going to have a hard time trying to fix this issue yourself. This is something that you have to go back to the company that had the site made. So really what you want to try to do is get yourself as close to 100 as possible. Okay, this helps both Google and the user when it comes to working with the site. Now, the next one's the Robots TXT. This is more of a Google thing, and it helps to optimize for Google. This was built and installed. The XML sitemap, another thing that optimizes for Google, not found. So this was not installed at the time the site was built. Okay. There is no internal errors, which is good. There are 25 internal links within the site, which is it's decent for a local site. So that's cool. There's no broken links, which is good. There's no canonical URLs, or no worries on that. SSL is becoming more and more important. It's just a security certificate for the internet and for that domain, letting people know that it's a safe domain to work with. I wouldn't say this is a priority, but it's something to put on the to-do list to eventually get fixed for this site. Going into the specific SEO elements, page titles are good and important. I'm kind of given the blueprint right here of what it takes as far as SEO optimization, by the way, as well. Page descriptions are good, open graph tags, Twitter card tags. It's not that important, especially for a local business, but you can eventually have that installed too. This one's kind of important, okay, especially if you're one of those schools, and I'm just going to give a big, this is something big. If you're a school that wants to go into other areas, okay, you don't want to just show up for Spanish Fork. You want to show up for Peyton. You want to show up for the, Provo. You want to show up for all these other different surrounding areas. And usually that's a really good strategy if your own population of your own town's under 100,000. You have to have your image alt tags installed, meaning, and let me just show you this real quick. So like on your site right here, you have images. Okay. So like if you click on this image, you have the ability to name this image and give it information. And that information is not picked up by the end user looking at this photo of this girl doing karate. It's picked up by Google. So right now, the reporting is showing that you have 55 images that are found, but there's 55 that are missing. Okay. So we have these tags that really could be feeding Google data and they're actually missing. Yeah, and as we scroll down into this further part of the report, you can see like on the homepage, there's 31 alt tags missing. On adults page, there's 18 tags missing. Okay. So that's all important. Okay, the next thing is H tags. H tags are another important thing for Google when they're looking at the content. There are some of these H tags that are missing on all the pages. And again, if you're going right now, if you're ranking really well, none of this stuff really matters. If you're trying to rank in other areas, surrounding towns within your area, then all this stuff matters. None of this stuff can be off. Everything has to be dialed and tweaked in if you're trying to do big things like, dominate your local area for the 4 or 5 main keywords and then dominate the other local areas surrounding you. Okay. Word count. Usually they like about 500 words per page on a website, and we're just a little bit underneath that. Mobile design, it looks like the mobile speed test is about the same as the other one. It's kind of low, so that should be fixed. It looks like we're rendering really well for whatever reason on the iPhone or phone devices, but the tablets, it seems like it's cut off for some reason. So I would just double check that on a tablet yourself to make sure that's correct. Okay, on the last thing here is Google Analytics. It shows that you have Google Analytics installed, which is phenomenal. I mean, if you're serious about online marketing and, if you're serious about like really running the marketing, to a T, then not having Google Analytics or not actually having a tab that's logged into, that's on your computer at all times, just you're constantly checking it like, at least once a day, you're going to be able to see how your website's responding. Picture this, it's almost like a diagnostic tool. So Google Analytics, when you learn it and understand it, it will help you to understand exactly what's going on under the hood of your website. It'll show how people are interacting with it, and it's just the amount of information that Google will tell you about how people are interacting with your site will allow you to make those little tweaks and turns and little adjustments to getting that motor humming just right for you. So if I was consulting you, what I would say is I would just try to work on some of those basic things that we talked about to get those squared away and tweaked in for your school. And that will automatically make your site probably like 5 or 10x times more powerful than it currently is. 5 to 10 times more of that magnetic attractiveness, and then those micro commitments helping them to take through. Again, in your area, for you specifically, like we talked about, you're ranking really well in your specific area. There's not a ton of competition in your area. That doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't start to focus on it that lives in Spanish Fork and then eventually overtakes you in those #1 listings. Again, this is something that every school owner has either have to have somebody with their hand on the pulse of this constantly, because leads and retention. That's what a school is. Somebody's hands got to be on it at all times, and in some cases it's just so massive that multiple hands have to be on it at all times, because that's how big a part of the business, the overall business, that it is. So let's talk a little bit about the other towns around your area real quick, because I see a lot of opportunity within that. Before we do that, I can't move on. So the other thing that's super, super important that I just noticed that wasn't on the site either, and again, this is the difference kind of between having a site, that's made, be sold to you, and then your school kind of fit into that website, or actually building the website up. The difference too is that in order for a school owner to build a website up, he has to understand all the elements I just explained. So, like, if you know the 4 elements that need to be thought through, then, of building a website, you can actually create the website yourself and then have somebody build it. Okay. Instead of having something that's already made and then having somebody just try to squeeze it in there. To be honest with you, that's how we get taken advantage of. And trust me, I'm saying this because I've hired companies when I first started out that really screwed me over, because as the school owner, we don't know every technical detail of what is involved in building a website that actually produces leads for a business. And so if you just follow those 4 guidelines or 4 elements that we talked about, it will definitely help you to get to the point where you're the one that's actually in control. You're building your website. And now that you've already got this one, now what it's time to do is take these elements and really think them through and build your website so that it really represents your company to the highest level of standard and excellence. Okay. The site is missing the schema.org information, or the JSON-LD information. Now, I know that's a bunch of alphabets and stuff like that, but it's super important for local business. There's a direct correlation between the schema code or the JSON-LD markup that's put on a website. Okay, it's like like a special, like, turbo piece. Let's call it a turbo that you would put on this on this motor. Well, schema or JSON-LD coding is like putting a turbo on an engine of your website. It directly feeds Google on a local basis. It's saying this business is local, and this is direct information that we want to feed to you, Google, to let you know about our local business. And again, because there's such low competition in your area, it hasn't mattered in order for you to rank in your town. But if you want to expand out the areas, then this is going to be something that you definitely have to have installed on your website. JSON-LD markup or schema markup. Okay, let's talk about traffic a little bit. Okay, so in this report, this one's on Payson. Okay, now the reason why I picked Payson is because it seems like it's the biggest population besides Spanish Fork in the area, but that would be one to focus on. Now, that doesn't exclude Benjamin, Lakeshore, Palmyra, Spring, and Mapleton, and all Salem, and all the ones that are surrounding those, because even though Mapleton, for example, I think Payson had like 19,000, even though it's only got 9,000, when you collectively, okay, take 9,000 from here, 7,000 from here, okay, and you just keep collecting the populations of all these surrounding towns, then now instead of you only having the 40,000 here, you have 40,000 here that you're ranking number 1 for, getting traffic to the website. You got 20,000 here, I think, in Payson. You got another couple thousand here, another couple thousand here. And then before you know it, when you're dominating number 1, in Google for all these areas, and on top of that Spanish Fork, now you're talking about condensing the population that you're trying to get traffic from, that you're trying to generate leads from. You're taking that pool from only 40,000 to now bringing it out to 100,000 or 110,000. Okay, so with that mindset, you can see how to prioritize your overall online marketing resources, time, energy. Okay. If you're like in your situation specifically, you're already ranking pretty well. I would put some time and effort into getting the tweaks that we talked about. So if we get X amount of leads today, if that's what's happening right now, then the whole goal would be is to do enough tweaks to the website so that instead of getting, that X amount of leads, now we're getting XX amount of leads. And then once we have that established, going out into these other areas and trying to actually be the #1 ranked school in those areas, that will be driving a boatload of new traffic, and ultimately it's just going to cause you to have more leads and more enrollments. Okay, a little snapshot of that is when you just look at this column right here, you can kind of ignore the other ones. This is basically your mobile. Okay, and we already know that 80% of searches are done on a mobile device, so that's what's going to matter the most. And again, for school owners and just entrepreneurs in general, okay, all my successful mentors, priorities, okay, they're always going to tell you, #1, priorities are important. Focusing on what are the priorities, knowing the difference, that's wisdom, priorities. And then the second thing is your time management, because if you have the priorities, then you know how to put in your time. Okay, so mobile. Now, for just the keyword karate for Payson, okay, for that particular town, you're ranking #2. Okay, so whoever's the #1 guy, he's getting almost all the leads for Payson. Okay, we're probably getting very, very little or none from Payson being #2, because being #2 in Google's map section, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's like, let's see, let me just do that real quick. Okay, so okay, so basically one school, they dominate. So like I'm on a desktop, so this is like, really big over here. Just on the mobile, imagine this. On mobile, this would be the big, box right here. So they basically are not sharing a map area with any other listing, okay? It wouldn't be until you actually dig into this listing and you actually, like, let's say if you go to directions, then it would probably allow you to go into the map area and maybe see some other schools if there were other ones advertising, okay? But this school has got all this market to themselves. They're not in competition with anybody else, where like if we put Spanish Fork, okay, it's producing multiple martial arts schools right here, okay? One person's running an ad, but you're the #1 listing, okay? So this is, again, this is something that you really have to consider, because this person, we know that there's a ton of potential in Payson, okay? It's got 19,000 people, I thought we saw, but it's only producing one map result, and they only have 2 reviews, okay? What if you got your local result to show up for Payson as well as Spanish Fork? That would be the goal. Okay, so coming back to this, for karate type keywords, we were #2 in Payson, okay? Which you could see when we actually pulled it up, they weren't even giving other results. Maybe they do in mobile, but you could check on that, okay? And then like kickboxing, we're not ranking in there. Kids' birthday parties, we're not showing up for that either. This is a huge one. I can't believe how many, I can't believe that people are actually getting websites that are made for them, and they're not like, the people that are making them are not adding kids' birthday parties as an element for martial arts school websites. I mean, it's kind of like just leaving a whole part off of a vehicle. You go out and buy a brand new, Subaru, and part of the engine is missing. I mean, this right here is a huge opportunity. right there. Kids' birthday party. So that's another opportunity that we could take advantage of. Martial arts not showing up, and Taekwondo, it says that we're number 4. So this is a huge area of opportunity that can be worked on, and there's very little competition to really deal with. See, the other side of this too is, like I said, I mentioned this before, but I have to drive it home because school owners don't realize this. So like, okay, when you first build a website, when I build a website, it usually takes me about 20 hours to really think it through, map it out, and then actually actualize it, bring it up live. Okay, so like 20, sometimes, I mean, if it's a competitive area and there's a lot of different programs, you know, they teach jujitsu, MMA, self-defense, you know, if there's a big string of different services and classes they offer, it could take me, you know, longer than that, sometimes maybe even 40 hours to really flesh it out and then bam, make it live. But the thing is, it's always easier to obtain than it is to maintain. So if that looks like a lot of work, okay, the other side of that is the maintenance part. Okay, so once the site has been built and it's up there and it's live and it's working well, you can't just like let it sit out in the driveway. The site has to be maintained, and normally for most school owners, it would take anywhere between 4 and 8 hours per month of them putting in time to just maintain what they have right now, whatever results that they're getting. See, if you leave an apple on a table, after 2 weeks, it's going to rot. Well, the websites, any local business website, if you just leave it, it's going to rot. If you leave your Google local listing and you don't touch it, you don't add a photo, you don't add descriptions, you don't tweak it, you don't try to enhance it, the algorithms are taught or are designed to devalue something that's not being maintained. I hope that makes sense. That is a huge school owner secret. So kind of to wrap up the traffic part of this video, as you can see, this was Payson. We really could run a report, I think, for each one of these areas, probably Payson, Benjamin, Lakeshore, Palmyra, Springville, Mapleton, Elk Ridge, maybe even out to Thistle. You know, again, I don't know how far people are willing to drive in this area, but I would start with the closest and make that circle and dominate all these areas, and then kind of zone out from there until you get to that sweet spot where, you know, you're getting 30 leads online per month, you're signing up, you know, 10 of them, you know, the school's cranking at a good pace. And then a whole nother layer to this. And, you know, I'm going to make another video kind of talking about, you know, all the elements. I mean, if I started to diagram this, and it's really like almost overwhelming. If you took the marketing department for a modern local business that's really savvy, you know, savvy online, I'm trying to like map out all the different elements, and you know, I've already gotten like 15 to 20 elements, and I know that there's way more. And so if as school owners, we can see all those different elements and we're able to prioritize, then we can really choose to use our time and our resources wisely and decide, is this something that I need to learn, or is this something I need to outsource? And then what, if I am going to outsource, what knowledge do I need to know that I can outsource this and know that it's going to get done, or the results are going to happen? But the other element is paid traffic. Okay. So in other words, one approach would be to do what it takes for your Google local listing to show up in more of these surrounding towns. Okay. And that is, you know, 6 months, a 1-year undertaking, and always subject to Google's algorithm changes. Then the other way would be to utilize paid traffic to, in essence, do the same thing, reaching out to all these other local areas around Spanish Fork. Okay. But instead of using Google search engine to do that, using paid traffic to do that, um, through multiple different vehicles, meaning using search engines like Google, Yahoo, and Bing, but also using paid traffic in social media as well. So in other words, again, there's two routes to dominating the area locally around you, which I highly suggest because you live in an area of about 40,000. So what we want to do is either attack it through the Google local and getting your Google local listing to show up in multiple different areas. It's very time intensive. It takes a while to actually get to that result. And it's subject to Google's changes. And or you can layer it with paid advertising through Google, through Facebook, through Instagram, through these other things, which could get you the results much quicker, and you're not subject to Google's algorithm changes. But there are, of course, pay-per-click or paid advertising algorithm changes as well. But the result is a little bit quicker than actually trying to use like Google local SEO to dominate the area. So again, the goal, dominate the areas around you so that there's more population to work with. Two different strategies that you can utilize, which would be to utilize SEO and Google local to achieve that result, or using paid traffic. And for some school owners, you're going to take it to that one step level. You're going to do both. You're going to do both. You're going to simultaneously work on your Google local listing to be showing up in all the other surrounding areas around your area, but you're also going to be using paid traffic to those areas as well. And that's when you can get 30 to above, 30 leads and above, when your multiple strategies are layered on top of each other outside of just your area. Okay. So in other words, if you're hitting other local areas and using multiple layered strategies to hit them, why? Because here's the thing. So again, we know that when somebody's doing a Google search, they're in a certain mindset. Okay, much different than somebody scrolling through the newsfeed on Facebook or Instagram or even on YouTube. Okay, so the mindsets are different. It doesn't mean that one's closer than the other necessarily. It's just that one is an interruption. I'm looking through the newsfeed and I'm interrupted by something. Now that interruption can magnetically attract me so deeply that I take a ride with that marketing message for 5 to 10 minutes and float off with it and do micro commitments with it. Okay. But the other side would be the person that's actually saying, hey, you know what? Johnny came home kind of upset yesterday and I'm really thinking about karate class. Hey, maybe I'm going to look on Google right now and I'm going to start to do a little research of what's local here. Okay, so that person is hunting down a solution to their problem, where the other person is bumping into something that's magnetic, that's drawing them in. I hope that makes sense. So again, if a school is basically two elements, leads and retention, and everything kind of, all the subcategories are within those two, once that's like achieved, okay, once you've dominated not only your area and maintained it, but you've dominated all the other areas and maintained it, and you're getting anywhere between 30 and 50 leads per month from this specific area, and you're able to maintain that and keep that maintenance going, because that's, again, it's easier to obtain than to maintain, then now would be the time to expand into, maybe another area, where, again, this time your plan can be, well, I want to be in an area where I see a lot of surrounding towns. Maybe when you expand like that, you're going to be looking of, what's the demographic that I want to be in? How many population, Then now, instead of like building the school and then figuring out the marketing, you're going to figure out the marketing and then build the school. All right. So let's get together on the phone. take this phase one online marketing audit and to phase two so that we can really kind of boil down on some of the details. I couldn't go into all details. It's already a 50-minute video, but some of the details on how we can make this strategy work and execute this plan. All right? Okay, thanks for watching.